I think that one of the things that contributes to the social and societal stigmas around aging is the fact that when people hit the age of 40, they apparently feel, this is from real data, 20% younger than their actual age. So, apparently I feel 48, my 85-year-old father feels 68. No wonder, we think we're invincible, no wonder we don't address things as if they were appropriate for our actual age. So sort of with my grandmother's story as a backdrop, one of the things I wanted to do was just provide you with some facts about normal aging. And I've chosen just sort of two common changes that occur, both hearing loss and decreased mobility and strength, as just sort of to create a talking point for all of this. And I really want to sort of use this to highlight that these changes happen to everyone. And therefore, we shouldn't be stigmatizing, we should be thinking about solutions. We should be thinking about ways to sort of optimize function and help people to compensate for the things that happen naturally with aging rather than stigmatizing them. So first, really quickly about hearing loss. So hearing loss, I think, is probably not a big surprise to anyone, can lead to social isolation, it can lead to depression, it can lead to cognitive decline. I'm sure that folks know how much it impacts communication. You just mentioned about, your husband's hearing, and I think that can lead to frustration between family members, with caregivers, there are impacts of not sort of acknowledging and addressing one's hearing loss. In terms of numbers, hearing loss affects 40% of those in their 70s and 80% of people over 85. And this is not from esoteric causes of hearing loss. This is just from sort of the natural process of aging. On the other hand, hearing aids have been shown to improve social and cognitive outcomes. Unfortunately, 67 to 86% of those folks who could benefit from hearing aids aren't using them. And I think this is one of those things that we need to sort of start, turning the tide around. Places like Costco have figured this out. They've now got a huge business around hearing aids because of all of the challenges that people have had related to cost and insurance and whatnot. And I think this is just a really, really important point that hearing is something that's easy to address in the big scheme of things. Okay, well, the other thing that I wanted to highlight was mobility, because I think that's something else that's very, very common. And I think there are, again, these stigmas around walkers and canes. And, one of the things that really brought this to light to me was actually a friend of my dad's who lives in an independent living community where there's a dining room. His friend actually said that she wouldn't go to the dining room because that's where people with, walkers and canes were, and she didn't want to feel old. And I just, that comment absolutely made me cringe. She knows where I work and what I do, and it's so ageist, and, that is coming from someone in her 80s. So it's just like these stigmas and perceptions are so inbred. And again, this is where I'm really hoping that we can start changing the narrative around some of this. A few facts about mobility. 80% of people over the age of 85 struggle with mobility. 40% of those over 85 use some sort of mobility aid, like a cane, a walker, or a wheelchair. And then a lot of people, unfortunately, because of this, fall each year. 25% of those over the age of 65 and 50% over the age of 80. And I think, unfortunately, with falls, they create a little bit of a vicious cycle where people fall and then they develop this fear of falling, and so they get very, very cautious, so they don't move around as much. That leads to weakness. And that leads to more falls. And so figuring out ways to stop that cycle are really, really important. There are ways, though, to help with balance, to help with gait, and to prevent falls. And those include some things that are relatively simple. Strength and balance training, which I know those of you who do live here have great access to over in the fitness center with a lot of our classes. Interestingly, Tai Chi has gotten a lot of press around its efficacy in terms of improving balance and preventing falls. It works better than the strength and balance training. It's really important to address one's vision, so not just thinking about your strength or your your muscles or your joints. Other inputs actually impact falls, so making sure you address vision is really, really important. For those who are living at home and in apartments, it's really important to look at safety hazards. There are a lot of ways to do this, but throw rugs are probably like the worst thing in the world. Many falls every year because people are just like, I love that rug, I can't roll it up and put it away, and then there's a fall. And then working with your physician or primary care team to go through your medications, because there are some medications that can contribute to increased risk of falling. And sometimes those can just be altered a little bit to help.